Welcome to the Aviom A360 in-ear monitoring tutorial for Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa. If you're playing in the sanctuary, you will have the option to use the Aviom in-ear monitors. The first thing you'll need to know is that when you walk up to the monitors, your session will be labeled in front of you. Each button here is lined up with the instrument that it represents. One of the first thing you'll want to do is set everything to 0 to get started. Since several bands will use the Aviom system, you want to start at 0. And since nobody has saved anything on the presets, if you press the A button right here, it'll just set everything to 0. So now everything is set to 0. These buttons here, 1, 2, 3, 4, set them up at 12 o'clock to start. This button right here is your master volume. You'll need to turn that up to about 12 or 1 o'clock. I'm going to start mine at about 1 o'clock. Okay, so the way this works is to adjust a specific instrument. You would find that instrument. Let's say you want to adjust the acoustic guitar. AC stands for acoustic guitar. So you would press that, and then this is your individual channel volume knob, turning up the acoustic guitar. Okay, so we've turned it up to there. Let's say you want to turn up some percussion. You would press perc, stands for percussion, turn that volume up. Let's say you're going to need some piano. Piano is going to have 2 channels, a left and a right, and you'll press the left channel first. You can turn up that volume, then you'll press the right channel next, and you'll turn that volume. TB right here, that doesn't stand for the disease, it actually stands for talkback. So when the front of house engineer is trying to talk to the band, you want to have that selected and turn up the volume so you can hear the engineer talk to you through your ears. You don't want to keep this talkback mic up while the front of when the band is playing. Otherwise you're going to get tons of noise and it's just really hard to deal with. So when the front of house engineer is done talking to you, turn your talkback mic back down and you can continue referencing the mix that you set up. Okay, let's talk about adjusting tone. You can adjust tone for the individual channels by, let's say we're going to adjust tone for bass. You want to hear more low end on the bass. This is the tone button right here for the individual channels. If you want to hear more bass, you would scroll the button over to where it says bass. Let's say you're listening to a vocal. Let's give that vocal some volume. And you want to hear more high end in it, so you would turn it that way, like that. If you would like to hear a change in your overall mix, then you would use these buttons up here. This one is marked bass and this one is marked treble. Let's say you wanted to hear more high end out of your overall mix. You could turn this treble button up to hear more high end in your overall mix. The next thing you'll want to know about is panning. One thing that musicians don't appreciate about the in-ears is that they hear a big wall of sound and it just keeps getting louder and louder, but there's not clarity. And the reason for that is we have 2 ears and they hear things from different perspectives depending on where the instrument is placed. So you want to set your ears according to what the room may be like. For example, let's say Mike the singer. We're going to put his volume up. Since he's going to be over on the far left side of the room, you might pan his mic over to the left. Let's say Avalon was over to the far right of the room on the piano. You would want to pan her vocal all the way to the right here. This will make it more like your natural hearing. A note for the piano is the piano should be panned far left right, at least for the reference in the piano player's ears. So the right channel will put all the way to the right. When whatever instrument that you're referencing yourself, you want to have that up the middle and be the focus of your monitoring. Let's say if you're referencing overheads, you may want to have that. Let's give that some volume. Let's say this is what your right overhead. You could place that over to the right. Here's another, the left overhead. You could place that one to the left, and you panned it into the right and left side of your ears. This makes it more natural in your hearing. The next thing we'll want to talk about is adding reverb. Vocalists really like this. So let's say Avalon wants reverb on her vocal. This right here is the reverb button, and it says reverb right there. So you press her vocal, and then you come over to reverb and you turn it up to where you're happy. Let's say you want to add reverb to Jim's vocal. Let's give him some volume first. Now his is selected. We'll add reverb to his vocal. And Amy, we're going to give her some volume first. Now let's add some reverb to Amy's vocal. So you could make a pretty nice mix going on in your ears. The next cool thing for you to know about would be the trim all function. I'm going to use our electric guitar player for our example here. Let's say the electric guitar player has set his mix. He's got himself all the way up, and he still wants to hear more, but he can't. One thing he can do to adjust that is the trim all feature. And the trim all feature turns, every time you use it, will turn down your entire mix 3 dB, and you can get it to where you want it, and then turn back up the instrument that you want to reference most. Okay, so we're going to use trim all by holding down these two buttons at the same time. It lowered it 3 dB. Let's lower it again. It lowers our entire mix. Let's lower it again. You can see that the mix for the electric guitar went down, but it's actually making all the instruments go down at the same time. So now what you can do is go back to the electric guitar channel and just crank that back up again. And you could also, if you really want it loud, add some more master volume and get more volume out of that as well. So that's the function of the trim all feature. You'll have an option of earpieces to use. Some musicians really like closed ears. That means your ears are completely sealed off from the room, and others don't. For those who don't like closed earbuds, they can use open earbuds, like even iPod earphones work well. And then you can put, if you're not referencing bass, those will work fine. If you're going to be referencing bass, I would suggest closed earbuds. But iPod earphones will work fine, or anything that's close to the same. If you're using closed earbuds, there's a neat little feature on here called Ambience, and you can add Ambient Room Mic into your mix. This right here is our cool little room mic, and it's just built right into the board. To start turning up the volume of your Ambient Room Mic, what you're going to do is hold this button down like so, and then use this knob right here to turn it up, and you can see you're turning up your Ambient Room Mic. You'll hear the change as you go. When you let go of the ambient button, it will return to your previous mix that you have in your ears. So that's the Ambient Room Mic, and that about explains it.